Welcome again to the Old Principle, an English instructional program where we learn how to speak, hopefully, and for sure listen to English. We have a short story, and it's all very interesting. Today is another story from my life. This will be lesson number 156, 156, Spring Fever. Spring Fever. Well, do you know what spring fever is? Well, just a moment, and we will read the story to you, and then perhaps you'll have a better idea what spring fever is. So with that, let's listen to the story.
156. Spring Fever. The arrival of springtime symbolizes the mystery of life itself. The birds returning from the south to make their nests in the tree branches, the bees busying themselves in search of sweet nectar, and the dull colors of winter changing into bright greens and colorful flowers here and there. Moreover, cherry, apple, and pear trees begin to bloom. But my attention turned to the deep ditches lining 36th Street and the small ponds in the rock quarry and woods. Frogs came out of hibernation and laid many eggs. These looked like gooey masses of green slime, but life was inside. Eventually, tadpoles were born, and my friends and I loved to catch them. I never quite understood how the tail on those little black swimmers slowly disappeared and legs materialized. But by the end of spring, the ponds were drying up, and nighttime choruses of croaking gave ample evidence that a new generation of frogs would live to perpetuate their kind. One of the signs of spring was an illness called spring fever. Teachers noticed the first symptom of this illness: decreased interest in doing schoolwork. Other symptoms included boys and girls starting to fall in love with each other and boys starting to play baseball. But for me, girls and baseball held minimal attraction. I was always interested in sports, but I was too small and my muscles didn't seem to work well together. I hated to make mistakes or to drop the ball and have everyone laugh at me. I preferred to watch others play baseball rather than playing myself. Since I was bashful and timid, I wasn't obsessed with making special friendships with girls like my pals did. Not that I wasn't interested. Rather, I couldn't overcome my shyness. Furthermore, at that point in my life, it was too uninteresting for the girls to get excited about me.
Okay, now, we've heard the story. Do you know what spring fever is? I hear from my Chinese friends that it's called Sichuan Zheng. But I'm going to explain it. So don't worry, if my Chinese is wrong, you'll get it when you listen to the story. Here we go. The arrival of springtime, 春季的这个时间，象征于 OK 象征于 the mystery of life itself. When I say the mystery of life itself, of course, during the winter, everything seems to die. It's dead. And so, in the springtime, something happens, and the dead things start to come to life. They're coming alive. What is it? What is this? That's 生命的奥秘. Things are coming alive again. Going on. The birds returning from the south to make their nests in the tree branches. Okay, so the birds, they went south. Okay, they went south. 到南方去. They returned from the south and they make their nests. 做他们的鸟窝在这个树枝上. Okay. On the branches of the trees, you have the nest of birds. The bees, 蜜蜂, okay, are busying themselves. 就开始忙来忙去. In fact, don't we even say in English, we have, well, I am busy as a bee. 像蜜蜂这么忙啊. Okay, so the bees were busying themselves in search of sweet nectar. Nectar is 甜蜜, okay, or 花蜜, 甜蜜. Okay, going on. And the dull colors of winter. Okay, 单调, 冬天的单调的色彩. Okay, the dull 单调的色彩, 冬天的, of course, are changing, 正在改. They are changing into the bright greens. What is a bright green? Okay, 鲜绿, 鲜绿. Okay, it's very bright. And colorful flowers. 有彩色的花. Here and there. When we say here and there means 有这个地方, 有那个地方, here and there, everywhere. There is what? Greens and flowers and colors, and it's a beautiful time. You almost feel like singing. You almost feel like singing every day. And so a lot of interesting things happen in the spring. A lot of interesting things happen. Okay, for instance, moreover, 而且 the cherry, apple, and pear trees begin to blossom. What's cherry? 樱桃, cherry, apple, 苹果, and pear, 梨树, begin to bloom. Now, remember, I am from the north. So we have the northern hemisphere, 北半球, northern hemisphere, fruits, cherries, apples, and pears. In the hot areas, hot climates, we don't seem to have those. That's for a cold climate. 这个气候这个比较冷的才有 cherries, apples, and pears. But my attention, this is me. My attention, what is attention? 聚精会神, or something like that. I started to pay attention. 我开始把我的精神集中于 turned to the deep ditches. Okay, what is a deep dish? A deep ditch. Deep dish, not deep dish. Deep ditch. A deep ditch 是一个水沟 在路边不是有一些沟啊，水沟 ，OK， on my 36th Street, it says 36th Street, okay, there were deep ditches. It says lining. What does it mean to the ditches were lining the street? Okay, they were 沿着那条街36号街 okay, and there were these big deep ditches. Nowadays, can't do that. Nowadays, everything is covered, 都是遮盖过了 but 现在 okay, and the small ponds, okay, what is a pond? 池塘小小的这个池塘 okay, in the rock quarry. You know what a rock quarry is? Behind my house, there was a rock quarry. A rock quarry is a 采石场. So they dig in there and they find the rock. Usually they use dynamite, 炸药, 先打碎 at least big pieces. And then they take the rocks and to somewhere else. Okay, this is 采石场. Okay, this is a rock quarry. And behind my house was a rock quarry, and they had small ponds. 小小的这个池塘，有一点水in the rock quarry, and sometimes in the woods too. Going on. Frogs came out of hibernation. Frogs came out of hibernation. 这个青蛙从冬眠出来。Frogs came out of hibernation. Hibernation, 冬眠. That's some animals sleep during the summer. Okay? I mean during the winter. No, they don't do during the summer. They sleep during the winter. And these frogs came out and laid many eggs. 产卵, okay, laid many eggs. Now, the next sentence is a tough one. So you'll probably have to find your dictionary to look at all of these words. But let's see if we can sort of explain it. They were like gooey masses of green slime. 看起来好像 Okay, I got to look at this. 一团团的粘液 Okay. 团团的 masses. Something large, okay? Masses of 绿色的 Okay, gooey means 黏黏的 gooey. It's a good English word, but we don't use it very much. Sometimes you say the food is a little too gooey. Okay, gooey. Green slime. Slime is 一个液体 Slime 是一个液体但是是浓浓的 Green 绿色的液体 But, and here's the thing, inside of this gooey masses of green slime, there was life inside. Life. 在里头都有生命. there was life inside. It looks awful. In fact, I hated to touch the stuff. 这个摸到这个, I just couldn't do it. It's terrible stuff. But there was life inside. Eventually, 终于, tadpoles were born. What is a tadpole? A tadpole is a curdle. That is a little thing that kind of black, has a tail, and it goes down in the water. That's a tadpole. It will become a frog, but it's not a frog yet. First of all, it's a tadpole. Eventually, these tadpoles were born, and my friends and I loved to catch them. So my friends and I, we would take cans, 罐头, and jars, 瓶子, and we would go down there and we would go fishing. We would go down and we would take this and we try to catch the tadpoles. And we were just going down there, trying to catch these tadpoles. Wow, this is great fun in the spring. Little boys like to do this. I'm not sure about little girls, whether they like to do that, but little boys like to do that. Going on, I never quite understood, 从不明白 how the tail of those little black swimmers slowly disappeared and legs materialized. Whoa, that's a long one. I never quite understood, 从不太明白 how the tail, 这个尾巴 on the little black swimmers, 小小黑色的游泳者啊，这是蝌蚪啊。I didn't understand how the tail on those little black swimmers 渐渐的不见 disappeared, and legs materialized 出现，它的脚，他的腿，他的脚就出现。So it was always kind of a mystery to me. How in the world this happened? And of course, little boys are sitting there thinking, how does this work? What happens? Go ahead. But by the end of spring, the ponds, 这些小小的这个水塘，小小的这个池塘，were drying up. So, the end of spring, 这个春季，稍微迟一点 they were drying up, 慢慢就干掉。And the nighttime choruses of croaking gave ample evidence. Okay. The nighttime choruses. A chorus is a 合唱. Sometimes we say 合唱团. Okay. 合唱. 晚上的这个合唱. Okay. Of croaking. Now, frogs croak. Okay, people speak. Sheep go ba, sheep 这个羊. But a frog croaks. I can't croak. I don't know how to croak like a frog. Okay. Choruses of croaking gave 足够 ample 足够 ample evidence 证据足够的证据 What? Go ahead. That a new generation of frogs 新的一代青蛙 would live to perpetuate her kind. Whoa. How do we say perpetuate? Okay, 延续它的种群啊。Okay, 延续 perpetuate. Perpetuate simply means to keep it going. So you have a new generation of frogs, and they will have baby frogs, and then every year you have a new generation of frogs. Go ahead. One of the signs of spring was an illness called spring fever. Ha! Have you ever had spring fever? Well, I have. I've had it many, many times. Okay, spring fever. Okay, 四春症. Okay, if you don't know what spring fever is, don't worry. I'm going to explain to you what this 疾病, this illness. Now, when I put it in parentheses, it's not really an illness, but we often joke that it's an illness. Spring fever. Actually, spring fever, fever is 发烧啊. Okay. Spring fever. 四春症 going on. Teachers notice the first symptoms. Okay, the first symptoms, what? Of this illness, decreased interest in doing schoolwork. What happens? When the spring comes, suddenly you decide that you don't want to go and study anymore. You'd like to go outside. Go outside. The sun is out, and you'd like to discover the new world of outside. Okay, going on. Other symptoms. Okay, are boys and girls starting to fall in love, 谈恋爱, okay, with each other. Some people in China, I even heard says 掉在爱河里. Well, I don't know whether that's true or not, but they start to fall in love, and the boys start to play what? Baseball. 打球啊，棒球. Okay, so this is what you face when you have spring fever. But for me, going on, girls and baseball held minimal attraction. 对我来说呢，没有多大的吸引力。Attraction, minimal, 小小极小的这个吸引力. Go ahead. I was always interested in sports. I love sports. 我喜欢运动. But I was too small, and my muscles didn't seem to work well together. 不够协调. I was just a little boy. So the bigger, stronger boys, they were the ones that played baseball and did the sports. And I wasn't interested in girls either. Especially, going on, especially since I was bashful and timid. Well, it talks about me making mistakes. You know, drop the ball, 落接. Nah. I wasn't interested in it. Everybody would laugh at me, and it was embarrassing, 很丢脸, 不好意思. I preferred to watch others play baseball rather than playing myself. 我宁愿看他们 preferred. 我宁愿是看别人玩或打这个球. Okay. Going on. since I was bashful and timid. Bashful and timid 是一样的意思呢。Bashful and timid 就是害羞，很安静，很害羞。Since I was bashful and timid, I wasn't obsessed. Okay, I wasn't obsessed. 迷恋于 making special friendships, getting a girlfriend. I didn't want a girlfriend. Obsessed, 迷恋于 making friendships with the girls like my friends. A pal is a friend. Okay. They did their thing, I did my thing. But I wasn't interested in that. So I wasn't interested in sports. I wasn't interested in the girls going on. Not that I wasn't interested. 即使我有兴趣 but 我没办法克服我的害羞，没办法克服 overcome 克服我的害羞 going on. 而且呢 at that point in my life, it was too uninteresting for the girls to get excited about me. 反正我是矮矮小小的了，所以这个女同学根本对我没兴趣啊。I was not big and strong, and so that's the way it was. Spring fever also affected me, but in different ways. I went looking for frogs and tadpoles and went on hikes and things like that. Okay, well, I guess that's about it. Let's go on now and look at our email address, the old principal at gmail.com, 我们的电邮 and 我们的网站 www.theoldprinciple.org. Hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed spending the time with you and look forward to seeing you next time.